Sit with me for a moment, dear one. Let the world slow down just a little. When I was in my 20s, I truly believed life was a straight road. I thought that if I worked hard, stayed kind, loved deeply, and followed the rules, everything would fall neatly into place. I believed effort guaranteed clarity, and patience guaranteed reward. What no one told me was that life does not move in straight lines. It bends, it pauses, it breaks your heart, and then, very quietly, it teaches you. These are the lessons I learned in my 20s, not the loud ones people brag about, but the quiet ones that arrived through loneliness, confusion, and long nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was already failing at life. In my 20s, time felt endless. I treated it carelessly, believing tomorrow would always come and that it would always be generous. I told myself I would start later, apologize someday, chase my dreams when I felt ready. But time is silent when it leaves. It does not announce itself or ask permission. One day I heard exhaustion in my mother's voice for the first time, just a small sigh, but it stayed with me. That was the moment I realized the people I loved were aging while I was busy postponing life. Time is not like money. Money returns. Time does not. I learned that presence is the greatest gift you can give, and that one day you will wish you had spent more moments being fully there instead of distracted and rushed. I also believed confusion meant failure. Everyone around me seemed to know exactly who they were and where they were going. They had plans, careers, relationships that looked steady from the outside. Meanwhile, I carried questions everywhere I went. I wondered if I was behind, if I had missed some invisible deadline everyone else knew about. What I learned, slowly and painfully, is that no one truly has life figured out. Some people are simply better at hiding their uncertainty. Confusion is not a sign that you are lost, it is a sign that you are thinking, growing, questioning. Life is not a race with checkpoints. It is a conversation, and sometimes listening is more important than answering. Love was the lesson that hurt the most. In my 20s, I believed love could fix anything if I tried hard enough. I stayed longer than I should have, hoping patience would turn into change. I ignored warning signs and called them challenges. I confused intensity with intimacy and sacrifice with devotion. But love is not meant to hurt you into becoming smaller. It cannot heal someone who refuses to grow, and it should never cost you your peace. The night I finally walked away, I cried not because I lost love, but because I realized how much of myself I had abandoned trying to keep it. Love should feel like warmth, not anxiety. You do not need to suffer to prove that you care. I learned that not everyone is meant to stay. In my 20s, I believed loyalty meant holding on no matter how heavy it became. I thought letting go was a form of failure. But people grow in different directions, and some are only meant to walk beside you for a season. Holding on too tightly only creates wounds. Letting go is not a betrayal. It is an act of respect for both journeys. Some people teach you how to love, and others teach you how to let go. Both lessons matter. Loneliness surprised me. No one tells you that you can feel deeply alone even when surrounded by people. In your 20s, loneliness feels frightening because you think something is wrong with you, but it doesn't. Loneliness is space. Space to learn who you are when no one is watching. space to grow roots instead of chasing validation. The quiet moments you fear now are shaping you more than you realize. I failed more times than I succeeded. Jobs fell apart, plans changed, dreams collapsed and rebuilt themselves into unfamiliar shapes. At first, failure felt like a verdict on my worth. But failure is not cruel. Shame is. Failure invites you to try again. Shame tells you to stop. Every mistake carried a lesson, even when I resisted learning it. Growth is rarely graceful, and that does not make it meaningless. I spent too much time explaining myself, defending my choices, and arguing with people who were committed to misunderstanding me. Peace is something you must protect because it is fragile and precious. Not every battle deserves your energy, and not every opinion deserves your response. Choosing calm over chaos is not weakness, it is wisdom. Your future self will thank you for every boundary you learn to keep. I also learned that change is not inconsistency. You are allowed to outgrow dreams, revise plans, and become someone different from who you once were. Growth requires permission to evolve. The person you become after your 20s is not a betrayal of who you were. They are the result of everything you survived. If you are in your 20s right now, listen closely. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not running out of time. You are learning. One day you will look back and realize that every tear shaped you, every doubt strengthened you, and every quiet night prepared you. And when that day comes, you will smile softly and whisper to yourself, "I survived becoming who I am." As I moved closer to the end of my 20s, something shifted inside me. The world did not suddenly become easier, but I became quieter. I stopped rushing to prove that I was okay. I learned that strength does not always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like rest. In my earlier years, I believed exhaustion was a badge of honor. I wore burnout like proof that I was trying hard enough. But my body kept whispering warnings I refused to hear. Sleepless nights, constant tension, a heaviness I could not explain. One day I realized that no dream is worth destroying your health, and no version of success is meaningful if you are too tired to enjoy it. Rest is not laziness. Rest is repair. I also learned that happiness does not arrive all at once. In my 20s, I was waiting for a moment when everything would finally feel right, when I would wake up and think, "Now I'm happy." That moment never came. Instead, happiness appeared quietly in fragments. A cup of tea in the early morning, laughter that surprised me, a peaceful silence after a long cry. I learned that joy is not a destination you reach, but a series of moments you notice. When you stop chasing happiness and start paying attention, it begins to find you.
Comparison was another thief I had to confront. I watched others move ahead, celebrate milestones and post victories, while I felt stuck in place. I measured my life against theirs and always came up short. What I did not see were the battles they were fighting privately, the doubts they hid behind smiles. Comparison made me blind to my own growth. I learned that your life will never look right when you are using someone else's ruler. You are not here to replicate another person's path. You are here to walk your own, at your own pace. There were moments when I felt invisible, when my efforts went unnoticed and my kindness unreturned. In my 20s, I took this personally. I believed being overlooked meant being unimportant. But I learned that being unseen does not diminish your value. Some of the most meaningful growth happens when no one is applauding. Roots grow in darkness, not under spotlights. What you build quietly often lasts the longest. I also learned that forgiveness is not about excusing harm. It is about freeing yourself from carrying the weight of it forever. I held on to resentment because I thought it protected me, but it only exhausted me. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting what happened or allowing it to happen again. It meant choosing peace over reliving pain. Some people never apologize, and waiting for their remorse can keep you trapped. Forgiveness is something you give yourself. As my 20s came to a close, fear began to change shape. It was no longer the fear of failing, but the fear of wasting my life pretending to be someone I wasn't. I learned that living honestly requires courage. Saying no will disappoint people. Choosing yourself will confuse others, but betraying yourself hurts more than any external judgment ever could. Authenticity costs something, but in the end, it gives you everything back. I stopped seeking validation from places that could not offer it. I learned that being chosen by everyone often means abandoning yourself. You do not need to be liked by all to be worthy. Peace arrives when you stop negotiating your values for acceptance. And slowly, almost without noticing, I learned to trust myself. Not because I always made the right decisions, but because I knew I could survive the wrong ones. Confidence did not come from certainty, it came from resilience, from knowing that even when life unraveled, I would find my way again. If you are standing at the edge of uncertainty right now, unsure of who you are becoming, let me tell you something gently. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to change direction. You are allowed to be unfinished. Life does not demand perfection from you, only presence. One day you will look back at this version of yourself with tenderness. You will realize how brave you were to keep going without answers, to love despite fear, to hope even when you were tired. And you will understand that your 20s were not a mistake or a delay. They were a becoming. As I stepped fully out of my 20s, I realized that survival had shaped me more than success ever did. The hardest seasons taught me things comfort never could. I learned how strong I was not when life went right, but when it fell apart and I still chose to rise. There were days when simply getting out of bed felt like an act of courage. No one applauded those moments, but they mattered more than any visible achievement. I learned to honor small victories, because sometimes breathing through the pain was the bravest thing I could do. I began to understand that healing is not a straight path. Some days I felt whole, and other days old wounds reopened without warning. In my 20s, I believed healing had an endpoint, a day when pain would disappear forever. But healing is a relationship you build with yourself. It is learning how to sit with discomfort without running from it, how to be gentle with your own heart when memories resurface. Progress does not mean never hurting again. It means trusting yourself to hold the hurt with compassion. I also learned that silence is not emptiness. In a world that celebrates constant noise and motion, I once feared stillness. Silence made me confront thoughts I had buried beneath distraction. But within that quiet, I found clarity. I learned who I was without performance, without approval, without the need to explain myself. Silence taught me to listen, to my intuition, my limits, my truth. And once I learned to listen, I stopped ignoring what my heart had been trying to say all along. There came a moment when I stopped chasing closure. I realized not every story ends with an explanation. Not every goodbye comes with understanding. Some chapters end mid-sentence, and you must learn to accept the unanswered questions. Closure is not something another person gives you. It is something you choose when you decide to move forward anyway. Letting go without answers felt terrifying at first, but it freed me from waiting at doors that would never open. I learned that grief is not only about death. We grieve versions of ourselves we never became, futures that never unfolded, relationships that did not survive. In my 20s, I carried these losses quietly, unsure if they even counted as grief. But they did. Mourning what might have been is a tender human experience, and honoring that grief allowed me to make space for new possibilities instead of clinging to old dreams that no longer fit. As time passed, I noticed how my definition of success changed. It was no longer about recognition or achievement. Success became peace. It became waking up without dread, choosing relationships that felt safe, and living in alignment with my values. I learned that a simple life filled with meaning is far richer than a busy life filled with approval. I stopped waiting for permission to live the way I wanted. I learned that no one is coming to hand you the life you dream of. You must choose it, even when the choice feels lonely, even when it feels uncertain, especially then. Courage is quiet. It does not announce itself. It shows up in the moments when you choose honesty over comfort. And slowly, I made peace with uncertainty. I learned that not knowing is not a flaw. It's an invitation. Life is not meant to be fully understood in advance. It unfolds as you walk it. Trust grows when you keep showing up, even when the path is unclear. If you are standing at the edge of uncertainty right now, unsure of who you are becoming, let me tell you something gently. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to change direction. You are allowed to be unfinished. Life does not demand perfection from you, only presence. One day, you will look back at this version of yourself with tenderness. You will realize how brave you were to keep going without answers, to love despite fear, to hope even when you were tired. And you will understand that your 20s were not a mistake or a delay. They were a becoming.
Yourself is not an easy process, but it is a worthy one. Be patient with the version of you that is still learning. They are doing the best they can with what they know. One day, you will realize that everything you endured shaped the wisdom you carry. You will speak softly because life taught you how easily hearts can break. You will love carefully because you know the cost of carelessness. And you will move forward not with fear, but with quiet faith in yourself. The night may feel long now, but dawn always comes. Stay, breathe, trust your becoming. And now, as the night grows quieter and the world rests, I want you to hear this most of all. Life does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present, to show up with your whole heart, even when it trembles, even when you are unsure. The years you fear losing are not slipping away, they are shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. There will come a time when you stop measuring your life by what you lack and start honoring what you survived. You will look back at the nights you thought would break you and realize they became the foundation of your strength. Nothing you went through was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the confusion, not the moments you felt lost.
Every experience carved wisdom into you, even when it hurt. You will learn to trust the pauses in your life. The moments when nothing seems to be happening are often when everything is quietly rearranging itself. Growth does not always look like movement. Sometimes it looks like waiting, healing, and learning how to breathe again. Be gentle with yourself in these seasons. They are sacred. One day, you will wake up and feel at home in your own skin, not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. You will know what you can carry and what you must lay down. You will choose peace without guilt and love without losing yourself. That is when you will understand that becoming yourself was the bravest thing you ever did. So, if tonight you feel tired, uncertain, or afraid of the future, let my words wrap around you like a warm blanket. You are not late. You are not failing. You are right where you need to be. Life is still unfolding in your favor, even when you cannot see it yet. Rest now, dear one. Tomorrow will come in its own time, and when it does, you will meet it stronger, wiser, and softer than before. The story continues, but for now, sleep peacefully, knowing you are deeply, completely enough.